Three friends boarded Disney's Galactic Starcruiser to seek their destiny and emerged as heroes of the Halcyon.
Good journey, friends, and welcome to another episode of Heroes of the Halcyon, the best and only Galactic Starcruiser Superfan podcast. I'm Galactic Starcruiser Superfan Christine, and with me is...
Superfan Martin.
And Superfan Drew.
Drew, tell us about our fantastic guest today.
So this is the interview that I was most excited to do. When we talked about going on Starcruiser back in October of 2021, I went to YouTube and wanted to see what people were saying about it. And that's when I discovered the cesspool of negative emotions and so forth that everybody was saying on YouTube. They were complaining about the price. They were complaining about the experience.
It wasn't even open yet.
It wasn't even open yet. But in the wilderness of all this negative emotion, there was one YouTuber who really actually had a bit of positive thinking, and that was Dano from the Dano channel. And tonight we got to talk to Dano about his experience on the Starcruiser, what he's enjoyed about Star Wars, what he's enjoyed about his channel, and we're going to share that with you right now.
So Dano, what is your earliest memory of Star Wars?
My earliest memory of Star Wars would be probably about when I was 4. I recall we would this is the late 80s, we're talking about around 87. And I would pick one of two videos as a 4-year-old. I either wanted to watch Baby, which was this dinosaur movie, or the Ewoks movies.
Oh.
So that's what I would pick. I had no real recollection of actual Star Wars at that point, but I always wanted to watch the Ewoks movie or Baby, the dinosaur movie. And the fact that nowadays Star Wars and dinosaurs are still every day in my life is kind of funny.
Right.
It hasn't changed much.
How are dinosaurs in your life? Part of it, this is an ignorant question on my part.
So I actually have a big Jurassic Park collection that is no longer part of the channel. I haven't collected any of the newer stuff with Jurassic World Dominion, but with the Jurassic Park toys from the 90s, I collected all of it. I even made videos using a lot of that old collection, and up until Fallen Kingdom, I still have them. I still see them every day, but the content's not on my channel for it anymore.
Yeah. So of all the mediums available now for Star Wars, what is your favorite?
My favorite, the F word. So I have a thing on my channel where I'm like, I don't do the F word favorites, but I saw the question. I knew you were going to ask me this. I usually go with, if I had to pick one, and you guys listed movies, comic books, TV, all that stuff. I've been watching a lot more shows lately, but movies will always be my go-to for Star Wars. Initially, my habit became putting on a VHS while I was doing homework. And so it's always been the movies on in the background. Even to this day, I put on a Star Wars movie in the background and I just kind of rotate and pick.
I got to ask, which is your favorite?
Oh, the F word again.
More F words.
Oh boy, here we go.
No F words. Yeah. I don't know. And the reason I say no F word, no favorites, is because my mind changes all the time. I could tell you that right now in this mood, because Andor's coming up, Rogue One's my favorite movie.
There we go.
But let's say something else comes out and I'm really in that mood. I'll be like, oh no, actually it's Empire Strikes Back. It changes and it rotates. So whenever I'm asked, what's your favorite this? Because I'll do live streams and videos. And that's the number one question. What's your favorite lightsaber? Who's your favorite character? And it changes all the time. So I don't ever want to be nailed down to just one because it fluctuates.
So there you go. You can have the double F word, the fluctuating favorites. So there you go. You're in good shape. There you go. Well, what you mentioned Rogue One. I actually watched Rogue One this last weekend, and I've seen the ending, the Darth Vader scene, probably 50 million times. These guys can tell you how much I was freaking out in the theater, but I haven't watched the beginning since the first time we saw it. And
It's
holy,
absolutely amazing.
F word. That movie is so good.
It's a great movie.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. And hopefully we get a lot more of that with Andor coming up soon. So I'm stoked.
It sure looks like we're going to. I mean, that's
right?
Like somebody, I don't know if it was you or somebody had posted that how it's the most cinematic looking of everything we've seen so far. I mean, it's just stunning.
Of all the shows that they've put out, it's looking like it might be one of the best ones they've worked on. But you never know with trailers. You never know how it's going to actually land. So we'll see. I'm optimistic. So what prompted you to start your YouTube channel? So my YouTube channel started in a completely different way. I do artwork. I shouldn't say I do. I used to do artwork. It's been a while since I really painted. I used to do it just as a hobby, would paint. And I painted my girlfriend at the time some Tom's shoes with R2-D2 on them as a gift for Christmas. And she got a lot of compliments on them. Like we'd go to Disneyland, people would compliment them. And so I painted her another pair for another gift. It was Disneyland. It was Sleeping Beauty's castle on one foot, World of Color on the other. Again, it was another gift. And my son was actually homesick from work, had me stay home from work because he was sick and I had to take care of him. He was about 4 years old and he was really into YouTube. And it was one of those things where I was like, I didn't really have time off that I could take, but I had to take the day off. So I had to figure out a way to kind of make up that lost money. And so I was like, well, I paint. I never, kind of thought about painting and doing that kind of stuff and selling it. And so I took pictures of my girlfriend's shoes and put them on Etsy and started painting shoes on Etsy. Like within a couple hours, they sold. So I had to recreate that design and go from there.
That's cool.
Started posting them on Instagram. That started taking off. And I just found myself painting more often. And while my son was young, he would watch a lot of YouTube and I would watch with him in the background, be like, okay, what is this going on? He's watching like people play with toys and, all kinds of weird stuff that kids watch. I was like, well, I could do that. Why not show people how I paint? And I would do little speed painting tutorials and stuff like that and just talk about little techniques that I have or, figured out and picked up on how to put Disney characters on shoes. And I started dabbling a little away from that, doing like, here's how you screen print. And it started with that. And so on a family trip to Star Wars Celebration in 2015, they have a build your own lightsaber station there, the precursor to Savi's, basically. My son had built one and I made a little video of it. I was like, yeah, we'll put that on the channel because I did a bunch of Star Wars content because I was like, well, it's adjacent to Disney parks. Let's see how that goes. Did it, went back to doing art stuff. And about 6 months later, I looked back at my analytics and saw that video of the lightsaber build was at like 60,000 views. And at this point, my channel was still in the younger days. So I had maybe 2,000 subscribers. And I had the idea to try it again. And I was like, well, let's go back to that lightsaber station, see if we can build a different lightsaber and see how that video does. Same thing, it took off. So the light bulb went off in my head and said, okay, let's do a bunch of these lightsaber videos. And in that same year, 2015, that's when Force Awakens came out and we had the big Force Friday. So I was getting into more Star Wars videos by the end of that summer, leading into the fall, where we got our Force Friday, new merch push. And I'd say, let me go out to Toys R Us at midnight, make videos of me shopping and buying all the stuff, and stay up all night making unboxing videos of Star Wars Micro Machines. And then it kind of just took off and I dropped the art stuff and just went full Star Wars from there. It was like, no, we're doing lightsaber toys. We're doing blade builders. We're doing new Star Wars Micro Machines. You know what? I like those action figures. Let's try those out too. And it's just been this slippery slope. And you're looking at the final result of it right here behind me with all this stuff.
So we'll talk more about Starcruiser, which of course is what our listeners came here for. So your patience is appreciated, good listeners. But when Starcruiser was approaching, before we started recording, I was telling you that I became attracted to your channel because you were one of the early bastions of positive thinking around Starcruiser. And that was for a few months before your voyage. That was a pretty constant topic. Did you see similar interest for the Starcruiser videos as you were approaching your voyage?
I did. So the reason, I've been into Starcruiser since they announced it. Same with Galaxy's Edge. I got a big boost in viewership when Galaxy's Edge opened because going back to the origins of my channel with Disney stuff and Star Wars, here we have Disney stuff or Star Wars in a Disney park. This is the perfect marriage of all the things that I love.
Put those hands together. Yeah.
Yeah, let's do some Galaxy's Edge content. And that did really well for my channel. It grew quite a bit because of it. And so I've always been into the Galaxy's Edge stuff. And shortly after they had announced, hey, we're working on a Starcruiser, a Star Wars hotel experience. And I was following that news constantly. Anytime we got any little nugget of news, I would be all over it. But I didn't really make videos about it until last summer when they did the first announcement. They started showing actual promotional material. They dropped what the sample room pricing would be. And around that time, I had actually ran into, just through the algorithm, Sarah, travel agent, Galactic Starcruiser, one of my best friends now. And we started following each other. And I saw she was into, travel agency stuff. And I was like, well, hey, I've got an idea for a video. I want to guess what this Grand Captain Suite is going to cost. How can I have a little Star Wars or little Disney cruise experience. Knowing what I know about that, let's just make some guesses and see how that goes. And so we did a video together. I reached out. I was like, hey, you're a travel agent. Let's figure something out. It should be a fun video. It should be cool. We hit it off very well. And anytime there was more news, we would talk about it. I was like, well, let's just make a video and let's just see how it goes. And with anything new, anything Disney, a lot of that negativity does pop up. I know, given my experience with Galaxy's Edge, they tend to deliver a pretty good product. So while the marketing for Starcruiser wasn't the best and had quite a rocky start, I still held that positivity that like, yeah, but I know what they've given me before. I'm going to stick this out. Like I can point out when things don't look great. That's fine. But there was just a lot of vitriol, just like anger towards it. And a lot of that stems from the price. It's very expensive. And that is the first thing that people get mad about. And then from there, it's just a dog pile. And people just stop like really thinking about it. And they're just like, no, they're mad to be mad. And so I was like, no, let's be practical here. We can point out when something's not right, but we don't have to, we don't have to be just angry. And, I didn't like that vibe. So I decided to make that a focus on my channel. I was like, no, this is how you can look at something critically, but not be a monster about it.
So what are your eventual goals for the YouTube channel?
One of the shortish term goals is to hit that 100,000 subscriber mark. I think that's kind of every YouTuber's big, like first goal thing, but really it's to be like a resource for the Star Wars community. Over the years, I've seen that grow because of things like Galaxy's Edge and the information I put out about the droids or the lightsabers and all those pieces and stuff. But I want to be a resource for people who are going to experience those things. I want my channel to be the place that they go to before their first trip. And at the same time, I want to see like the Star Wars community, as you guys know, is amazing and it's full of awesome creators. So a goal for my channel is to be a place where people go to find out about all those different creators, people who are making custom lightsaber pieces, custom kyber crystals, people who do custom costume. There might be costumers out there who are creating awesome stuff that not everybody knows about yet. I've done a lot of that in the past with my videos, but I want to do more of that. I want to be known as, hey, you go to the Dano channel to find out stuff about your first trip to Galaxy's Edge or Starcruiser, but also once you're there, you can learn about some cool crafters out there. There's a lot of people making cool stuff. That's what I want my place in the community to be.
One in particular that we love, Crafted Cores. We got that directly from your channel, and they're sensational.
Right.
Got a ton of the stuff right back here from that.
And from Mosh Isley.
It's awesome. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want. I love hearing that, to know that you guys heard about it from me. And I mean, I didn't know them at first. I just found their product, was like, this is something cool that I really enjoy. Let me share it with the community and see, tell people this is something that's cool that I like. And that's literally all I'm doing with my channel is I like this. You should check it out too. And if I can help out, a small business along the way, even better.
Okay. So before we jump into Starcruiser, help me out with some of these.
Okay.
The Sad Baby Squad.
So that is just basically what I call my subscribers. Like in the earlier days of YouTube, everyone would call their like notification squad. People would show up and comment first. And that started as a reference to all the toys I would unbox. Most toys are for ages 3 and up. And so there's a logo on the back with the universal sign for no or don't. It's a red circle with a red slash through it. Mm-hmm. And on one side was a crying baby and the other side was 0 to 3. So me being just a goofball would always look at the boxes in the videos and say, oh, look, it's approved by 0 to 3 sad babies. Just as a goofy thing to say. And so I would just say that every time I saw that logo, and it just kind of became a recurring thing. So the Sad Baby Squad is a reference to that, but it's kind of like what I call my subscribers on the channel.
So now onto the main event. Since we are the heroes of the Halcyon, we probably should talk about that ship down in Florida. Or pardon me, in orbit around Batuu, right? So you were on the second official voyage, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Yeah, the second one.
We were lucky enough to talk to Sarah and Steven, but I'd love to hear your version of how all that came together and how you hooked up with all those folks.
So I was talking to Sarah roughly a month and a half before the dates went live. So since we'd been doing videos in the prior weeks, we were in constant contact about anything Starcruiser. We heard about the early bookings for annual pass holders, for the Golden Oaks members, and for Disney Visa holders. They got first dibs at booking any of the reservations. So I wasn't an annual pass holder, but a friend of mine, Hondo Supply, Mike Forrester, he also has a podcast called Armor Party. He reached out and said, hey, man, I've got a group of people that are going to go. And one of them, she's an annual pass holder, so we can get in on the early bookings. I was like, well, that's cool. It's going to be a pain in the butt to get any of those early bookings because we all, you got to get up at 6 a.m. when they go live. I'm on the Pacific time, so that'd be 3 a.m. for me. I'm like, I'm not getting up to call. Who's going to do it? I was like, well, of course, we have Sarah, a travel agent. This is her specialty, is what she wants to specialize in. So let's bring her on board and see if, she booked it for us. And so we were tied in. I had no idea who the other parts of the group were other than Mike Forrester from Hondo Supply. It was a surprise once we got all booked who everybody else was. I was like, oh, okay. So this is Thank the Maker podcast, which is a bass player from the band Story of the Year, Adam, and then Nick from Bayside, and William Ryan Key from Yellow Card. For those, mid to late 2000s emo fans, those are some pretty big names in that scene. And so they have a Star Wars podcast as well. And so I was like, okay, this is going to be a lot of fun. We've got a nice, cool crew going on here. And then Sarah at the same time booked for her and her family. So we're like, all right, we're all going as a big group now.
So what were the positives and negatives of going with such a big group?
I mean, the positives was it was amazing. I think it was way more fun than if I would have gone with a smaller group. If it was just like me and one friend, I don't know if it would have been as fun. But even with that said, one of the negatives of having such a big group is you don't really get to do everything together. We were still kind of all doing our own things separately. Like I still spent a decent amount of time away from that group. But having the option to like go back and we could meet up at the Sublight Lounge later, or we could do just a little bit of the story stuff, split up and then come back. That was nice. When it came to the excursion day on Batu, day 2, wrangling everybody was a little hard, especially when we were strapped for time for a photo shoot. So that's one of the negatives, is trying to get everybody in the same place at the same time is hard. But the positive is just, it's that much more fun when you have that many more people dressed up and immersed and wanting to play.
And it was fun hearing about everyone else's storylines, so I got a broader scope of what beyond what I saw. You were telling me about what you saw. You were telling me about what you saw. So
exactly. Yeah. So at the end of the night at the Sublight Lounge, we'd all hang out. Once all the story stuff was done, we would close the bar down every night and we would just talk about what we saw and, what we did personally in our mission or our journey, because we all had kind of different angles we took.
One thing that I remember is on your Instagram page, since you were really on one of the very, very first voyages, you actually had Scott Trowbridge and Anne-Morrow Johnson on your voyage. And these are like the top of the line in Imagineering.
Yes. And this was Anne-Morrow Johnson's project. This was her baby. And Scott Trowbridge does all the Star Wars, like the Star Wars Imagineer. And so, we saw that they were there and we're like, oh, we saw them like walking. All the Imagineers were there. Anisha, who's one of the ones who works on the Disney Play app, we saw her on Batu. She helped us debug and troubleshoot some issues we were having.
That's good tech support.
And it was, she was literally there with a MacBook when we had an issue with one of the missions on Planet and it wasn't working right for some of our group, but it worked for the other part of our group. It just wasn't loading. So we went to her and she ended up being a fan of the channel. I was like, oh, wow, that's really cool. And so, we've kind of kept contact through that too, which is really neat. And one of the Imagineers who created Savi's and Gaia, same guy created both, which happened to be like, again, I don't use the F word, but those might just be some of my favorite things. And he was there too and got to talk to him and meet him. And just really all of the Imagineers who were behind this amazing project were there for the first few weeks. And it was pretty incredible to be there in person and actually just tell them to their face, thank you.
What an opportunity. I mean, we all ride the Matterhorn, Big Thunder, but you never actually get to talk to the people that made it and say, that's amazing. So what an incredible experience. Well, as a tips and tricks expert, wow, say that 3 times quickly.
That's tricky.
What are, say, 3 things that you think that you learned on your first voyage that you're going to be able to apply to your next voyage to make it even better?
I overpacked. I brought too much stuff. That's the big one for me, is that I brought too many costumes. Maybe I think I might have stressed out a little too much about building my character and backstory and all of that. And while it helped and it was fun to play around and like do all that ahead of time, I could have been working on other stuff and it wasn't as necessary. It was fun and it was cool and I'm glad I did it, but I didn't need to do it as focused as I was. I could have spent that energy elsewhere. So come up with a cool backstory for yourself, but you don't need to go in depth. Like you don't need to have your whole family tree and all, just have a baseline backstory, maybe where you came from in case one of the characters asks you. And as far as costumes goes, something that stands out that is identifiable as you so they can remember you. But I brought like 5 or 6 costumes. I was changing every couple hours. And I was like, this is too much. This is too much changing. So I would just pack less. I would pack just a little more practical, really keep comfort in mind because you're moving around quite a bit and it gets hot. Just think about your comfort. That would be like the third. So pack practically and light, don't spend too much time on your story. It's going to be used and it's going to be fun, but don't go crazy. And then just keep in mind your comfort.
And a number 4 that's closely related to number 3 is remember Gold Bond powder. So that'll help.
There you go. There you go.
So what were some of the
Not a
challenges?
sponsor.
Right, not a sponsor. So what were some of the challenges in trying to enjoy your voyage while you were filming and vlogging the voyage?
Oh, trying to film and vlog it's entirely a challenge. So you're trying to, it's the Starcruiser. For a lot of people, this is the only time they're going to get to do this thing. So you want to be in it. You want to be playing. You want to be participating as much as, you're comfortable with. But to also try to document at the same time was rough because you have to think, okay, what's the camera seeing? And I was really trying to stay focused and in it with the story. And it kind of ruined a lot of my footage because I wasn't paying attention to what I was doing. Like, I didn't want to bring the big camera, the nice camera that I use on all my videos. So I was like, I have a phone. Let's just use that, kind of keep it close to the chest. And I get what I get. I get whatever footage I get and just try to keep my eyes with the, not looking through a viewfinder, but instead focus on actually playing and being in it and not letting the camera take me away. And it was hard to balance that. It was really, really hard to balance that. And I just had to get the most out of it. There's so much buildup leading in that I was like, I got to capture as many moments as I can from this thing. I have a lot of footage of people's chins and not their head, their heads are cut off in a lot of my footage, just because I wasn't paying attention to what I was. So it was a struggle to do that. After it was done, trying to find a way to edit that together in a cohesive manner that made sense and looked good for YouTube was also hard because I had to go through and look at this footage and be like, this is not usable. There's audio from, so I came up with a different process where I was like, you know what, I'm going to turn my camera on here in my studio and talk about what I did and splice in clips over it, kind of like a story time, and recap that way, and then interject here and there to fill in those gaps where I didn't have the best footage.
And it worked out great.
It did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was refreshing the page. I must have watched your Animal Kingdom Pandora video 6 or 7 times, waiting. I was like, I know any day now he's going to post it. It's going to be coming. It's coming. I know it's coming.
So you talked about overpacking for your character. Can you tell us a little bit about your character?
I had a lot more character idea fleshed out before I got there. Once I got in it, I kind of abandoned a good amount of it. So I arrived as a resistance pilot. I had my full 10-pound pilot gear suit on, flight suit, chest box, vest, boots, all of it. And when I arrived, talked to the captain. I was like, oh, I'm just on vacation from the Battle of Crate. Just trying to see if I can maybe, make a few extra credits while I'm out here. Who knew what kind of trouble I would get into? And so that was kind of the baseline of my character. Originally, I was thinking, oh, maybe he's a pilot who flies for Star Tours for extra money on the side, as someone might be a Lyft driver, an Uber driver in our world. So it's that'd be kind of a funny thing. Oh, no, I'm a pilot, but I also do a little bit of Star Tours on the side. I kind of abandoned that, and I didn't bring that up at all. I just kept it as, hey, I'm a resistance pilot, and I'm here just to see what I get into. If I can make a couple credits while I'm here, then all the better.
So was this your first venture into cosplay, or had you done cosplay before this?
I would say it's the first official venture into cosplay. I dressed up a little bit for Galaxy's Edge because in Batu West in Disneyland, they don't really allow adults to fully dress up in costume. In Batu East in Florida, they're way more lax about it. They will let people really put on a full costume almost. As long as you're not telling people, hey, I'm an official Disney cast member, you're fine. But in California, they're way more strict about it. So you can't really pull off as much as you can at the other park. So I've dabbled. I've worn some stuff that is, they call it Batu bounding, that kind of looks very Star Warsy, but is based still in regular clothes, adding stuff like vests, little greeblies to your vest, just small things so you don't look fully like a Star Wars character, but you look like you belong in Star Wars. So I wouldn't say that's fully cosplaying. So this would be pretty much the first time I'd done that. I had the Resistance pilot suit that I wore to D23 for about 2 hours in 2019, and it's basically just been sitting there, and I've been adding to it and worn it in a couple videos, but not really out and about. So Starcruiser was my first time going for a prolonged amount of time in that big old heavy suit, and then having more costumes to change into, which were more of that Disney bound style stuff I'd find on Amazon and do little tweaks to kind of look Star Warsy.
Do you think you've been bitten by the bug? I mean, is cosplay something you want to do more of, or you're like, yeah, it's close enough?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a slippery slope with that too.
Yes.
So after Starcruiser ended, they give you a window where you can purchase from Shop Disney some of the Starcruiser merch. Leading up to Starcruiser, they give you 30 days. And afterwards, they give you 30 days as well. So leading up to Starcruiser, because I was on the second voyage, there's all these new costume pieces that I knew nobody had reviewed. So I bought almost all of them, at least the ones that I figured I could fit into, like the saber training tunic, the nicer gray tunic that they sell, stuff you can also buy on board. But I wanted to have videos out for it before anyone went on the Star Cruise. So I was one of the first people to buy that stuff and get it online with reviews. So that's a lot of cosplay items that I have and I can still use and get into. But after the Star Cruiser ended, I bought a pair of the Twi'lek Leku. And I did a fun video where I was like, well, if they're blue, I should probably paint my face blue. So I did a silly video where I went to Target and bought had blue makeup, and I've never put on makeup before. So it was just kind of funny looking. But that's not the last time I'm going to be putting on makeup. I'm going to modify those Leku and use them for an upcoming cosplay at Oogie Boogie Bash this fall as a male version of Gaia, the performer on Starcruiser.
That is so awesome.
I am so freaking out right now. Welcome to the Twi'lek Club. Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see that.
I may have to ask you tips for how to keep the Leku on and not get messed up.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It seems like it's a lot of work.
Yeah, we can talk Twi'lek offline. I'll give you all sorts of pointers.
So I saw several of your CSL shots. Do you have a particular favorite CSL photo location?
Engineering. Well, that's a tough one. I really like the engineering room, but on the bridge was actually some of the coolest shots that I got because I was in the full pilot costume. I was up there at the main console pulling the hyperdrive. So that would be my favorite spot, or at least where I got the best shots.
So I'm going to stick one more F word for you. What was your favorite drink in the Sublight Lounge?
Mark of the Huntress. And I make that at home now quite a bit, actually. That's a really good. It's got like peach, black currant. It's a bourbon drink, nice dried pineapple on it. It's one of the more expensive drinks. It's like $25 for the one drink. And that does not include a souvenir glass. It's got some expensive ingredients in it. But as far as flavor goes, that would be it. With the old fashioned, the Pod Chaser, a close second. It's nothing fancy about it other than it came with a silver ball in it. I just love old fashions.
You're a man of the classics, I can tell.
Yeah.
I think our Starcruiser budget for the Voyage 2 is going to shift from merch to Sublight Lounge.
Yeah.
I can tell you that right now.
That was most of my budget was Sublight Lounge.
Yeah.
I think I remember, weren't you two-fisting it at one point, too, in one of your videos? Yes, that's the...
He's got two fist
points,
Drew.
actually. Many points.
That's true. That's awesome.
We all love Starcruiser. It's an absolutely sensational experience, but if we can kind of look at it and kind of think about, what could they, change or improve or shift over the years, is there anything that strikes you as something that if you had a magic wand, could change about Starcruiser?
A rotating story, like storylines that change out over time. Just more options. Like maybe the way Star Tours works, where you start in one destination and that triggers a tree of maybe 6 that you could go to for the middle part. And then that triggers an option of different. I would like if Starcruiser had something similar, where if maybe you went down the first order path, depending on what choices your first order comrades or whatever, chose, that would send the first order trajectory a little bit different. It doesn't have to be crazy because you always have to end at the same place. But if there were more options within that story tree for it to go that made it really, really feel different each time you went, even if you chose the same path, that you could do it 5 or 6 times to do the same path and it would be different every single time. If there was a way to make that happen, that's what I would do.
I would chop off a hand to see that whiteboard in Imagineering.
I know, right?
The decision tree.
What Martin isn't telling you is it's Christine's hand he's chopping off. But it's good. Yeah.
I'll take one for the team. It's fine. It's totally fine.
You're a trooper.
As long as we learn.
Something that we can see, obviously, did you get any merch on the ship while you were there?
Oh, I got all the merch. I got the Legacy lightsaber, which I don't really collect Legacy lightsabers, but that one I had to have. I had to have that. I've got the shield, the lightsaber training shield. He's not on my desk now, but I got the SK620 droid, of course, Sabak. And really, I'd already had all the costume pieces, so I didn't get any shirts or like wearables other than costume stuff. But all of the cool items like sabacc, droid, lightsaber, the shield, I had to have all that stuff.
Boy, I got to tell you, I regret not buying the shield set. What was I thinking?
You're just. Oh wait, you are going back.
Yeah.
So wow, this is great.
That's what October's for.
We ran out of luggage space. Actually,
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That's another tip right there. Bring an extra suitcase or something for all the stuff you're going to want to bring back. Especially if you want that shield, because it's big.
Yeah.
We left clothes behind that we came with just to put more Starcruiser stuff in.
Just the underwear. Just the underwear.
Okay. That makes sense.
So what was your favorite part of the Halcyon?
The F word.
What was your fluctuating favorite? Right. Yeah.
I actually say I do have a favorite part. It was can we talk spoilers about what happened in my story? Because it's part of my story.
Hi, this is Future Drew in the editing booth. Just want to let you know you want to skip about 4 minutes ahead to miss any spoilers. We do talk a little bit about the voyage on the Halcyon, and if you don't want to be spoiled, 4 minutes from now, you won't be. Yeah.
Throw a spoiler alert.
A little spoiler warning for listeners. If you don't want to know too much, you may want to skip ahead a little bit. But the heist, the scoundrel heist that I did for Gaia of stealing the Hyananea stone was the coolest thing. And I love it. I love it so much. It was the best part for me. And I was fortunate. I was Wraith's right-hand man. So I actually held the Hyananea stone in my hand. When he stole it, he passed it to me underneath the long fruit. And I had to hold it. I had the stone in my pocket while he's being interrogated by the captain. And no one else on the ship, other than our little group, knew that I had it. And so I'm just sitting there watching the captain interrogate him, knowing that I've got this thing in my hand and no one else on the ship knows what's going on. And then I just did one of those sneaky handshakes where I passed it back to him when it was done. I was like, that was real. I was part of a real heist in Star Wars. So absolutely full F word. That is my favorite moment from Starcruiser was when that happened.
All right. So we talked a little bit about the path you chose, and we talked a little bit about your favorite part of the story. And we're going to say the F word again. I'm never going to not call it the F word.
It's my favorite word.
I wanted to throw you guys a curveball and be like, no F words.
So let's take Gaia out of the mix.
Impossible.
Okay. You're going to make this difficult.
I'm going to make this difficult. So let's take Wraith out of the mix.
Wow. Okay.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Talking about cutting off hands.
Now,
okay.
Now, who were some of your favorite characters to interact with?
Captain Keevan.
Yeah.
For me, that's pretty easy. Captain Keevan. I really liked Captain Keevan.
Yeah.
We had the main one, the one that you see in a lot of the promotion, and she's in a lot of the voyages, and her performance was just phenomenal. She did such a good job in the one-on-one interactions. She was real. She was really the captain. I believed it every second. It's definitely Captain Keevan. For me, she did such a good job.
So do you already have your next trip planned, or that future plans?
I don't have an official trip planned. Not yet. There are a couple that are in the works, but no dates have been picked or anything. I will definitely be going back at least twice, but I don't have a set date on that yet.
And do you think that you'll try the same path, or you try to go down a different path?
I will purposefully try to choose a new path. One of the things that I found on the first one was that you're kind of given what you get sometimes with some of it. I didn't really think I was going to go down the scoundrel path as deep as I did. I wanted to do a mix and try to do, a little bit of start resistance, do a little bit of Jedi. I got no Jedi. That's the one I want to try and explore as much as possible on the next one, just to see, because that seems to be the real enigma. A lot of people go through resistance. A lot of people go through scoundrel. Those are pretty set and clear how to get involved in those. But not that many people get the one-on-one Jedi moments that are really special. And I want to figure out what it is that triggers that. Because I was trying to talk to the Saja. I was trying, in person. I was trying to hang out by the lightsaber dojo. And I got 0 datapad interactions with the Saja on my app.
Interesting.
And so I don't know what triggers that. And that's the path I want to figure out more about. But it makes sense that the Jedi path would be the mysterious, hard to obtain one. So yeah, I just want to know more about that aspect of the game.
Well, for the last part of this interview session, Dano, I was hoping that the four of us could go around, and we'll start with you, Dano, but something that I think is really, really just amazing in the Starcruiser experience, and I see it time and time again in Twitter threads, in Instagram, on Facebook, on Reddit. Everyone who seems to come off this ship just is transformed, not at their very core, but that they have an experience where they just go, that was absolutely incredible. It was worth every penny. And it was just such an amazing experience. Let's go around the four of us and just try to, in maybe one word or sentence, what do you think it contributes to that experience? Dano, how about you?
I think the reason a lot of people come off Starcruiser and are just in that like euphoric state of like, that was amazing, I have to do it again. There's a lot of factors. I think some of them are physical factors, exhaustion being one of them, that, we are kind of in this like weakened state. Our minds have been just like on overload for the last 2 days. And it's such a unique and different experience, something we don't get to feel or have, it's every sense, it's smell, it's taste, it's touch. You hear it, you feel it. And we don't get experiences that intense for 2 days straight. Like ever. If you're at home, at work, it's not like that. It's not that different for that long of a time period. In a very physical way, when people get off, you're exhausted in a way you've never been exhausted before. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It sounds bad when we say exhausted, but no, it's a really kind of cool headspace you're in when you leave, because it's something that's really hard to find anywhere else. You can't replicate that kind of thing, that kind of interactivity that touches all of those senses for that prolonged period of time in that way. So I think it's a very special blend and mix that leaves people just wanting to do it again, wanting more.
Martin, how about you?
I gotta say that you hear the phrase "live your Star Wars adventure." We've heard that through the decades of this book, this movie, this video game. You live your Star Wars adventure, but this is real. I mean, Wraith came up to me and I helped this character on a heist. This, that moment you saw that I had with Captain Keevan, that was a real moment with that character. And it was just, you can't chase that anywhere else but Starcruiser. I mean, it's just such a one-on-one. Everyone walks off that ship feeling like they were special, because they were to some character. Yeah. And that's not something you can get. I mean, I love Star Wars at my core. I mean, I've loved Star Wars since it came out. And this is the ultimate expression of that. I mean, you don't need to like Star Wars even to love Starcruiser. And that's a really odd thing. You just have to like interactive, fun experiences. But if you do really like Star Wars, this is it. This is the ultimate expression of that.
Yeah.
Christine?
I think for me, because I was apprehensive, I guess is probably the right word, before we got on board, with the cosplay and the interacting with the characters and stuff. I had no clue what to expect. And they do effortlessly bring you on this path, and you just let go. And you don't even realize that you've let go. You don't even realize that you're in the middle of this story until it's done. And when it's done, it hits you like a brick wall.
Yeah.
I mean, the first moment when Sandra came up to you, you were the first person he approached, and we weren't even sure, is this a character or is this a guest? Right. And it was just, again, we say effortlessly, it appears effortlessly.
Right.
You're right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's
a very good point.
Yeah.
And this is the most highly trained group of folks that just make it look so magic. Drew, I'm going to go back to something you said a couple episodes back. It's a 2-day magic trick. It's such a prolonged magic trick.
That's a good way of putting it.
And Drew, I've never heard anyone say it as good as that. It's a 2-day magic trick, and that's how it feels. So what do you think?
Well, if I'm going to boil it down, I mean, everything you guys have said, I'm 100% in agreement with. And the real answer for all of us, of course, is all of this combines to make the magic trick, to make the brick wall experience, to the sensory immersion that you talked about, Dano. One thing that you guys didn't mention that I'll bring up is the technology. The fact that they have everything set that's designed with one goal and one goal only, which is to produce the magic trick, to make it so that you forget that you're on a in a 4-story building in the middle of Orlando. You're actually in space. The First Order is there. Chewie, by the way, may or may not be on board, and it's a real experience. And the technology that they have in place, from the datapad experience to the way the characters are mic'd so that they can, actually see and hear you, and well, of course they can hear you, but you know what I'm saying. So they can actually broadcast to the fact that one of the things, Dano, that we've theorized over the time in the weeks since we've gone, or months since we've gone, is there has to be a way that they know when you're next to a particular character. We theorize that basically if you hang out around Sammy for 10 minutes or whatever period of time, that there's some sensor around him that goes, you've been around Sammy for a while, so your familiarity level is going to go up. And the way that then interacts with the story to give you more missions, just absolute favorite. That's the F word I'll use. Abso-favoritely is amazing. Well, cool. Well, Dano, thank you so much for your time today. If people wanted to find you on the interwebs, how would they find you?
Best place to find me is on YouTube, the Dano channel. Also Instagram at the Dano channel, and Twitter under that same handle, the Dano channel.
Well, if you're going to make it that easy.
Yeah, come on. That's
branding.
Give us a little bit of a challenge.
Oh, would you mind mentioning the Facebook pages again?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And you can check out a lot of the groups like Mubo's Droid Builders Club over on Facebook, Batu Bounty Hunt, and the Galactic Starcruiser Tips and Planning Info group as well.
Well, we'll see you on the webs, Dano. Thanks again for your time.
Yeah, it's great talking with you guys.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much to Dano for taking time to talk with us today about Star Wars and Galactic Starcruiser. And it's really such a great thing that he's done to just generate positivity and a sense of community about these things. And it's so much fun to be a part of that community. Christine, if people want to find us on the interwebs, where can they do that?
On Twitter, you can find us at Halcyon_heroes. On Instagram, at Heroes of the Halcyon. And you can always email us at heroesofthehalcyon@gmail.com.
Well, it's always fun to shoot the poodoo with all of our Star Cruiser friends out there. And until the next episode, it's our honor. Let's raise our glasses to Buoy-Tay!